So everyone, it's long overdue. We need to talk about Pearl. So in the most literal sense, Pearl is obviously a prequel to the movie X, but it's kind of also a follow-up because it gives a little bit of backstory to what was going on in that movie. It actually came out after X did. It came out in the post-credit scenes. It was like a little bit of a sneaky prequel, if you want to call it that. Nobody really knew it was getting made. And what's really interesting about it is, like, I think everyone's in agreement that this whole Ty West trilogy is just lightning in a bottle. Nobody expected it to be this good, myself included. I went into X thinking it was going to suck. Definitely didn't. I loved it. And then I saw the trailer for Pearl and I was like, how can they follow that up? That doesn't even seem like it's in the same like ballpark of being a slasher. It just seemed like something that not necessarily would be bad, but something that would be very generic. And while I do like some of the commentary that X has when it comes to aging and things like that, I definitely think it's more of a traditional horror movie. It's a slasher, as I said. I absolutely love that genre. But you know, you get to know the characters. They're making this film on the farm. There's a little bit of comedic relief. Then the second half of the movie just goes batshit crazy and people are dying. So it's very templated in that regard. And I guess Pearl does follow that template too, where it's kind of like a slow build at the beginning, then you get into it and it starts to get batshit crazy as well. But I think there's a lot more messages to Pearl. There's a lot more layers to it. It's more profound. You know how it's exploring mental health, this weird like psychopathic tendencies, the feeling of isolation. I just think there's a lot of depth to this movie that people don't give it credit for. What Pearl's about, it follows the character of the same name, Pearl. She played the old lady in X, but this is a prequel, so you're seeing her when she's younger. And it takes place on this farm where she lives with her two parents. She has a mom and a dad. The mom is a complete authoritarian figure. Like, she just rules with an iron fist, like doesn't take no for an answer. And her dad's dying. He's in a wheelchair. He's inaudible. She cares for him, clothes him, bathes him, does all of that stuff. Just a very weird situation to be in if you're a young person on a farm. And since this takes place during a time where it was World War I and there was a pandemic going on, it really adds to the feeling of being isolated for this character when her mental health does just start unraveling before our eyes. Because, you know, she feels like nobody loves her. Her husband's overseas at war, and she just has absolutely nobody to talk to, absolutely nothing going for her. But with that, she really just wants to escape, and the fact that she wants to become a star one day. You know, that was the theme to X with the main character played by Mia Goth. She's back again in this one. But as Pearl, she's basically interested in the fact that she can eventually just escape this miserable home life she has in this farm by becoming a star. But the problem is, she's not all there mentally. She's basically a psychopath. And the first thing that immediately stands out to anybody who's seeing this for the first time is what a weird little unique genre blender of a film it really feels like to watch. Because of the way they filmed it and the score they used, it just feels like a tonal blend of like 5 different movies at once. Like The Wizard of Oz, Psycho, Forrest Gump. It's got this very colorful picture, almost like a giallo film. We have very sharp reds and blues that stand out compared to everything else in the background. And then you have this really like flowery, bubbly music. It feels like, again, Wizard of Oz. Like almost like a Disney movie, but it's a very sad, a very morbid, dark movie. So it's got that tonal contrast. And I'm a sucker for it. I absolutely love whenever a movie has the balls to go for something like that. I think this movie really sticks it. And while I do occasionally give A24 some shit because they're so hit or miss and they release so many weird movies, this is one of those scenarios where A24 is completely in its element. I think it warrants what a good production studio that is, because giving Ty West and Mia Goth the ability for creative openness to kind of do whatever they want with this script. They can do so many different contrasts tonally, all the weird things they're exploring and going for without censorship. I definitely think that's when A24 is at its strongest, and that's why this is one of A24's strongest movies. And because of that tonal contrast you get with the super morbid subject matter, with the very pretty and colorful picture and the vibrant sounds, at least in recent memory, this is definitely like my top 5 to 10 visual favorites, and the way the score works. I think the score and the visuals in this movie are damn near perfect. And if you put the visuals aside and you get into the fact that Pearl over time has kind of garnered this reputation where more people know it, it's a classic in their eyes, I really think that is for one reason, and it's a common sense reason. It's the fact that Mia Goth is in this, and she's just phenomenal. Like, she does so many different things in this. Like, she's cute, adorable, extremely unsettling at times, downright terrifying in some of her acting. She's creepy. Her line delivery in this is second to none in anything. Her facial expressions, the fact that she can just switch on a top. She goes from being extremely bubbly and loving to terrifying within 5 seconds of film. It's a transformation that not many actors and actresses have the range to pull off. It needs to be pointed out. There's a scene in this in particular involving Mia Goth where she's chasing somebody with a pitchfork. And that scene alone, I feel like, should have netted her Oscar consideration. I think that is some of the best acting I've ever seen in a movie. And it goes on to get even better towards the end where she's doing this 5-minute monologue, kind of going crazy. But it just stands out like a sore thumb. When you're watching this, it's impossible to watch this scene and not believe that she is truly insane. And that to me is the epitome of great acting. Again, standout performance. And what's really hilarious to me about all of this, and I think I mentioned this in my X review, maybe I didn't, I don't know. But if you've ever seen anything involving Mia Goth off stage, like you've seen YouTube interviews, like the red carpet, she just comes off as the most bubbly, caring, like sweet souled person ever. And to see her in this franchise where they're contrasting her as this absolute psychopath who's lost her mind, she's like a serial killer. It's just hilarious to me to watch. If you've never seen it, as I said, I recommend you look it up. Look at the contrast. It's hilarious. And I know it's kind of become a cliche at this point to say, and it's a little bit ironic given the subject matter of Pearl itself. But I really think Mia Goth was born to play this role. You know, it's one of those situations where I can't envision anybody else playing her. If they ever do a remake, they ever do something where they recast her, I just do not think you would ever see this character the same way, the way this movie played out. It's like, you know, Denzel Washington in Training Day, or it's like Arnold Schwarzenegger in Terminator, Bruce Willis in Die Hard. This is just the role that I think Mia Goth was born to play. It is absolute perfection. I believe she got snubbed at the Oscars. I think this movie got snubbed at the Oscars. She should have been up for Best Actress. They just don't like horror movies. Regardless, it needs to be pointed out. She's phenomenal, perfect. I can't name a role where anybody did better than what she does in this movie. And the first time I viewed this film, it was actually an incredibly unique experience, because for the first 30 minutes or so, I wasn't completely on board. Like, I really liked it. I was bought into the story. It was just a slow burn. I was like, where's this going to go? Because X was so unique. It does such a tonal shift. I'm watching this thinking, like, where are we going to go? Like, how is this going to get crazy? And this does the exact same thing X does. We're about 30, 40 minutes in. There's this scene in a barn involving an egg. And between the subject matter of what she's doing and the visuals, they kind of overlap with what she's doing. I was completely bought in. And I was like, oh, it's going to do this route again. And from that point on, you get a character study of like mental health and psychopathic tendencies. It's just batshit crazy. And while you, the viewer, are watching this and you're kind of making your way down the rabbit hole of craziness, things are spiraling out of control for Pearl and the other characters in the movie on the farm. I think what this movie captures so well is what it's like to be in an abusive or smothering household. You have a complete lack of purpose, complete hopelessness. I think this movie captures that just about better than any other movie I've ever watched when it comes to like a start to finish trajectory of a character. At its core, this is just exploring Pearl's mental health, how she was never loved, how she's so hopeless, and that, you know, she has psychopathic tendencies. I'm somebody who, you know, for the most part is kind of over the mental health trope in horror movies, how we just kind of go back to everybody's crazy. I know it's an easy thing to segue, but this movie's not cliche about it. I think it's a very accurate representation. They do a good job in this, and I think it's mostly because of her performance, how good she is at being subtle and showing creepiness, of really highlighting, like, you know, again, the subtleness of mental health. Like, everyone's not just this outright crazy person. This is a more accurate depiction, I feel like, when it comes to people showing the signs of being a psychopath, being crazy. Because, like, she has these very weird tendencies where she can't take a compliment. If you ever compliment her character, she always questions it. Like, do you actually think I'm pretty, or are you just lying to me? It's very manipulative, very gaslighting. She also, like, she can't take no for an answer. She goes from very bubbly to being a psychopath within 5 seconds if she doesn't get her way. Again, very manipulative character, accurate.
Please, I'm a star!
And lastly, it's just a very, like, weird overemphasis on events. Like, she has to become a star. She has to get off the farm. The grass is always greener. It's this very, like, entitled, narcissistic view of the world. I feel like, again, is a very accurate depiction. Where a lot of movies kind of lose the plot, they kind of hit you over the head. It's way too obvious what they're trying to do to display a person's craziness. This is more subtle, and I appreciate that. There's a scene in particular that stands out towards the end of this, and like, if you've seen this movie, you'll know what I'm talking about, and it's kind of one of the film's most famous scenes at this point. And it both highlights the subtleness of this character's craziness and also Mia Goth's acting ability. It takes place during a 5-minute monologue. You have another character, she's talking to Pearl, and she's saying, just talk to me as if I was your husband. Like, let me know how you really feel about me. And she just goes on this 5-minute monologue about all of this crazy stuff she reveals about how she's like a psychopath, that she's killed, you know, that she's had an affair with him. Just all of these weird details that happen in the movie. And the other character's completely like, she's like, what did I get myself into? Like, this character's crazy. And it really just highlights, again, the mental illness factor, the Pearl, that she just has no social awareness. You know, that's what makes her crazy. And I think that, again, is an accurate depiction. The truly unsettling thing to all of this is you will definitely feel bad for her character at points, the way she's acted. And I definitely think that's mostly because of how good Mia Goth is as an actress, but you'll be watching this and you'll empathize with her. You'll just think she's like a broken person. She'll be crying. She'll be making some good points. You know, you'll kind of get sad a little bit for her. But at the same time, you know, especially like the 5-minute monologue, she's making some good points. You're getting empathetic for her. And then it just keeps going. Oh shit, like, she's manipulating me too. She is a psychopath. And also, because they have to be mentioned, this is a horror movie. This movie has some cool kills, some cool practical effects. I enjoyed all of it. They're not over the top gore, but I definitely think they're effective. They're cool. They're memorable. An honorable mention for the creepiest end credits of all time. Have fun watching that without feeling unsettled. This is just a prequel that absolutely gets it. The movies add something to one another. You know, X gets better after seeing Pearl. Pearl gets better after seeing X. They complement. You know, they share visuals, they share a tone, they share some sayings. It's genius. And after watching this, I was pretty confident we're on our way to the best horror trilogy ever because Pearl is fucking awesome. So if you've seen Pearl, if you have, comment down below, let me know. Or let me know if you like X or Pearl better, either or. If you haven't subscribed already, what the hell are you waiting for? I do it all on this channel. I do new releases, scary stuff, tier list rankings, all that. Join me down below. That's all I got in this video. Peace.